Introduction. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a topic that's critical to understanding modern India: poverty and inequality. India is one of the fastest growing economies in the world, with skyscrapers, billionaires, and a booming tech scene. But behind the headlines, millions still struggle to make ends meet. Why does this gap exist? How bad is it really? And what's being done about it? In this 23-minute deep dive, we'll unpack the latest stats, share real stories, and explore solutions. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and let's get started. What is poverty in India? So, what does poverty mean in India? It's not just about money, it's about lacking access to basic needs like food, clean water, education, and healthcare. The World Bank sets the international poverty line at $2.15 a day for extreme poverty, but for lower middle-income countries like India, $3.65 is often used. According to a 2024 report, India has nearly eliminated extreme poverty, with less than 5% of the population below $2.15. Sounds like progress, right? But here's the catch: at $3.65, over 40% of Indians, around 560 million people, still live in poverty. That's huge. Poverty also varies by region. States like Bihar and Uttar Pradesh have higher poverty rates, while Goa and Kerala fare better. Rural areas are hit harder than urban ones, with 4.86% rural poverty compared to 4.09% urban in 2024. And it's not just income. Multidimensional poverty, which includes health, education, and living standards, affects 16% of the population, according to Niti Aayog. The inequality gap. Now, let's talk inequality. India is one of the most unequal countries globally. The top 1% hold 22.6% of the nation's income and 40.1% of its wealth, while the bottom 50% have just 3% of the wealth. Imagine this: in 2023, India had 271 billionaires, yet 250 million people lived on less than $2 a day. The wealth of just 16 billionaires equals that of 600 million Indians. This gap has historical roots. Colonial policies drained resources, and post-independence, unequal land distribution and caste systems deepened divides. Since the 1991 economic reforms, billionaires have multiplied, but minimum wages have barely budged. The Gini coefficient, which measures inequality, rose from 0.45 in 1990 to 0.51 in 2013. The recent data suggests a slight decline to 0.319 by 2023. Still, India's inequality is worse than the US, Brazil, or South Africa. Real stories of struggle. Let's bring this to life with real stories. Meet Amina, a 50-year-old domestic worker in Kolkata. She earns 5,000 Indian rupees a month, barely enough for rent and food. Her one-room home has no plumbing, and she lost her savings to medical bills when her daughter fell ill. Amina's story isn't unique. 63 million Indians are pushed into poverty each year due to healthcare costs. Or consider Pratima from Patna, Bihar. A mother from a marginalized caste, she lost her twin babies due to inadequate public healthcare. Despite a clinic nearby, it lacked basic antenatal care. These stories show how poverty and inequality hit women, children, and marginalized groups the hardest. Caste, gender, and rural-urban divides make it tougher to escape the cycle. Causes of poverty and inequality. So, why does this persist? First, historical factors. Colonial exploitation left India with weak institutions and uneven wealth. Second, social structures like caste and gender discrimination limit opportunities. Third, economic policies. The 1991 reforms boosted growth but favored urban elites and big businesses. Agriculture, which employs 40% of the workforce, has been neglected. Education and healthcare access are also huge barriers. Only 50% of rural kids complete secondary school, and public hospitals are underfunded. Rapid population growth. India is now the world's most populous country, strains resources. Corruption and inefficient governance don't help either. India ranks 79 out of 176 on Transparency International's Corruption Index. Impact of COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic made things worse. In 2020, India's middle class shrank by 32 million, and 75 million more people fell into poverty, per Pew Research. Lockdowns hit informal workers, like street vendors and daily laborers, hardest. Rural poverty spiked by 9.3%, urban by 11.7%. While government food subsidies helped, they weren't enough to stop the slide. Interestingly, some studies suggest inequality dipped during the lockdown because the rich lost more income temporarily. But by 2021, the top 1% bounced back, while the poor stayed stuck. The pandemic exposed cracks in India's healthcare and social safety nets, especially in states like Bihar, where infant mortality rivals sub-Saharan Africa. Impact of COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic made things worse. In 2020, India's middle class shrank by 32 million, and 75 million more people fell into poverty, per Pew Research. Lockdowns hit informal workers, like street vendors and daily laborers, hardest. Rural poverty spiked by 9.3%, urban by 11.7%. While government food subsidies helped, they weren't enough to stop the slide. Interestingly, some studies suggest inequality dipped during the lockdown because the rich lost more income temporarily. But by 2021, the top 1% bounced back, while the poor stayed stuck. The pandemic exposed cracks in India's healthcare and social safety nets, especially in states like Bihar, where infant mortality rivals sub-Saharan Africa. Government and global efforts. India's government has taken steps. The Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, MGNREGA, guarantees 100 days of work for rural households. The midday meal scheme feeds school kids, boosting attendance. Food subsidies kept poverty from spiking during COVID. The 2024 Household Consumption Expenditure Survey shows rural poverty dropped from 7.2% in 2023 to 4.86% in 2024, partly due to these programs. Globally, the World Bank and UN push for inclusive growth. The Multidimensional Poverty Index helps track non-income factors. Oxfam campaigns for fairer taxes on the wealthy to fund health and education. But challenges remain. India's statistical system needs an overhaul, and the 2017-18 consumption survey was scrapped due to poor data. Conclusion and call to action. India's story is one of progress and paradox. Extreme poverty is nearly gone, but inequality and multidimensional poverty persist. The solutions, better governance, fairer policies, and inclusive growth, are tough but doable. What can you do? Stay informed, support NGOs like Outreach International, and share this video to spark conversation. What do you think? How can India bridge this gap? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like if you learned something, and subscribe for more deep dives. Let's keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching. Check out our playlist on global issues, and don't forget to tap the bell for notifications. See you in the next one.